Yeah, Barbara, the floor is yours. Barbara, you are muted, and can you open your microphone? Can you turn on it?
Okay, now there you go. I feel a little bit nervous having a speech to such an important audience, but I will make it. Banu, thank you for giving me a word. You already explained the agenda, so I'm not going to spend time on explaining it again. Onur, I cannot forward. Okay. In the next few minutes, I will give you an overview of the project activities. Let me first introduce the project partnership. As you can see, the partnership covers a wider European area. EMIP is an Istanbul association of mineral and metal exporting companies. As they say, they are a big family that puts a shoulder to the exporters to expand worldwide. They have nearly 71,000 members and therefore have a strong insight into the company's needs. That is why they could draw a comprehensive project proposal we are talking about today, Seabridge. As the project proposer, EMIP also plays a coordinating role. The smallest participant partner is coming from Slovenia. You can barely see our country on the map. The partner from Slovenia is a regional chamber of craft and small business of Kamnik. It's a regional chamber, a non-profit association representing the SMEs in social dialogue. The chamber serves as a business hub for sharing best practices, networking, providing SMEs with wide range of consultancy, education, training, and other services according to SMEs' needs. As being part of the Seabridge project, we will be able to offer Slovenian SMEs a range of new services in the field of CBAM and access to financing, digital and green transition. We are really thankful to EMIP to recognize us as a credible partner. Our next partners that I will introduce are both coming from Spain. FEUGA is the flagship organization from Galicia and has more than 40 years experience in the field of innovation and the transfer of knowledge and technology between universities, industries, and society in general. The partner QI Aero is a team of experts which facilitates the sustainability and digital transition in hard-to-abate emission industries. Then we have two partners coming from Ireland. ERNACT as a non-profit international network for European cities and regions. They jointly pursue digital transformation funding, development, and transfer of know-how opportunities. Their members are public service organizations and universities that work together to access EU digitalization programs and funding for the benefits of the area, companies, and universities. F6S is a global network for startups and entrepreneurs. They offer a platform. It's designed to help entrepreneurs to grow their business by providing access to funding and by connecting them with investors, mentors, partners, and other resources. And then we have a partner from Italy based in Palermo. SEIPES is an international organization with expertise in innovation, education, vocational training, entrepreneurship, and lifelong learning, as well as with project management in different EU programs. They strengthen the competencies of young people and adults for better employability and inclusion. Participants from today's International Info Day will have a chance to consult with project partners, experts individually, according to your needs, making efforts to decrease greenhouse emissions and implement twin transition to pursue the objectives of European Green Deal. Let me now explain a bit more about the project, why Sea Bridge. I'm sure we can all agree that climate change is our global problem and the greatest challenge of our time. Due to carbon emissions, climate change has a great potential to transform our planet, affecting food and water supplies and human health as well. Therefore, EU has set an ambitious targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and aims to reach climate neutrality by 2050. These targets are set out in the European Green Deal. Among other things, it sets out a series of initiatives to make industry greener, more sustainable, and more competitive. While on the other hand, European legislation also brings new regulations that affect both the EU and third countries. One of the most important of these legislations is the CBAM directive, which targets energy-intensive businesses and will be introduced to you a bit later. The project is building a bridge, connecting partners, organizations, companies, and experts. Figuratively speaking, by being connected, we will better overcome the obstacles and difficulties on the way to understanding the legislation and on the way to a greener and more digital transition. And who are we targeting to? First of all, the most important target group in the project are SMEs coming from energy-intensive industries like iron and steel, aluminum, cement, electricity, fertilizers, and hydrogen. Of course, the second important group is intermediary organizations that provide support services to SMEs. And our target group, of course, are our other interested parties, such as representatives of public authorities, journalists, and all those who feel that can contribute with their knowledge, technologies, best practices, and maybe innovative business models, etc. Let me explain you now shortly what we have done so far. The project started in October last year, but so far we have accomplished quite few comprehensive researches. First of all, we have done a comprehensive research on CBAM legislation. Further on, interviews with representatives of cluster and business consortium, members of academia, experts in environment regulations, sustainability, circular and green economy. Then we have also done a research of best practices on SMEs green and digital transition. So other SMEs can adopt presented practices. We have also identified funding opportunities available for SMEs to support twin transition. So this is all that you will be able to hear and follow in today's and our next activities. What we are really proud of, are the web pages and LinkedIn profile that we have established. You can follow our activities on both And we kindly ask you to follow them, especially on LinkedIn, when you can share and comment our posts, while this is the only way when we can reach a larger population of target groups. And let me explain now what is coming next. Okay. Banu already mentioned that we are going to organize the whole bunch of capacity building sessions, like trainings, webinars, advisory services or coaching sessions. We would like to empower SMEs and intermediary organizations on the fields related to CBAM, and financial possibilities, and of course, green and digital transition. What we are proud of to announce is that we are preparing a direct financial support through our project. Will be announced shortly. I hope we are going to speak about it today also. What we are working off, of course, is to study some best practices that we will be able to share findings with the involved parties. And we are trying to, I've lost myself now. Further on, we are preparing also guidelines that those guidelines will assist SMEs in understanding requirements of CBAM and how to access financing, either EU or national. And of course, we are establishing sustainable and transitional cross-sectoral partnership that will work also, we hope, after our project is finished. I have already mentioned dissemination and communication while explaining you the our websites and LinkedIn profile. This is where we are going to show you everything that we are preparing in our project. If you have any questions regarding any issues that we are going to talk today, please write your questions in the chat, and later on for advisory sessions, you will be invited to breakout rooms to chat there. So this is what I wanted to present to you, and now I am giving the floor to Maria from QI Aero.
Thank you, Barbara. Good morning to everyone. I am Maria Romero, CEO of El Cubo Verde as part of Key Arrow teams, and I'm very glad to be in part of this amazing project and to share with you input about CBAM regulation. I know that regulation are always a complexity issue, so I try to make it easier. That's my intention. So what is carbon border adjustment mechanism? I have to say that it's a European CO2 tax to support decarbonization strategies and to fight against the potential carbon leakage. Carbon leakage occurs when a European manufacturer decided to produce abroad in a country where less exigent environmental and climate change legislation ensure. So this European tool intends to ensure that imported goods to the European market are going to pay a price for their embedded emission similar or comparable to the price paid by the European and domestic producer subject to the European emission trading system. The European emission trading system was launched in 2005 and is nowadays the biggest CO2 market in the world. This tool encourages also to boost cleaner production in non-European countries. CBAM is also compatible with World Trade Organization rules and is aligned with the progressively phase out of free allowance under the emission trading system to support the decarbonization pathway of European industry. What are the sector affected? It was mentioned before by Barbara. Thank you, Barbara, for introducing this topic. In the first period, these 6 sectors are already affected by CBAM regulation: iron and steel production, hydrogen production, cement production, aluminum production, fertilizer, and electricity. And it's going to initially apply since 1st October 2023 to import of certain category and intermediate goods in the European market. But it's foreseen that other activity sector less intensive in energy consumption, but subject to the European emission trading system, enter in this system by 2030. Oil refining, upstream fuel combustion, oil methyl, pulp and paper, glass and ceramic, acid and organic chemical, aviation transport already in the EU ETS system as maritime transport and line. So we have by one side the European affected country, European countries importing from non-EU country, the so-called reporting declarant that are going to import CBAM goods from third countries. And in the other side, we have non-European countries exporting goods, the so-called operator that sell to the European Union. And there are also some exceptions. I'm not going to make a detailed description because there are other detailed exceptions, but in general, goods originated in the following countries and territory are not subject to CBAM regulation: Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, Switzerland, that has its own CO2 market, and certain territories from Germany, Italy, and Spain. So if I am an operator in a third country, how do I know that I am subject or not to CBAM regulation? First, my CBAM good have to appear listed in Annex 1 of the regulation of the CBAM, European CBAM regulation, approved in May 2023. And this product have to be sold to the European market, or maybe my product are purchased by other clients than them are going to manufacture a more complex CBAM good, and that is going to be sold to the European market. Or I just sell my product to a third stakeholder, a trader, that is going to export my CBAM good to the European market. In all of these cases, I'm going to be affected. I'm going to be asked to report information to my EU importer, and I should develop a reporting monitoring methodology as soon as possible. Beside the important key role of the operator in a third country, we have also other important key roles and main tasks that I'm going to summarize very briefly. By one side, we have the European Commission. The European Commission manages the CBAN transitional registry that has been created in a transitional period to complete information, to submit information about CO2 embedded emission, about the installation affected, quantity of goods that are importing, and so on. The European Commission is also going to screen CBAN report submitted, and it's going to set up the trading certificate platform that should be enforced in the definitive period starting in 2026. We have also the custom authority that has to inform European importer of CBAN goods of their reporting obligation at the moment of import of these CBAN goods. And for sure, we have the European importer, the one who imports directly a CBAN good, or it may be also an indirect custom representative that holds an authorization from the European importer to do this import of CBAN goods. CBAN regulation, as other relevant sustainability regulation, has a first period that we call learning period that started at the beginning of October last year and at the beginning of year 2026. During this period, European importer only have to comply with quarterly reporting requirement. They are not subject to any financial obligation. That's quite important. And this reporting submitted on a quarterly basis, maybe on a voluntary basis, verified by an external accredited entity or not. At the beginning of the of year 2026, the definitive period starts, and only CBAN approved declarant in the definitive CBAN registry may import this category of CBAN good. And EU importers are going to incur not only in reporting obligation, but on a yearly basis, not the quarterly basis, no more, but also in financial obligation due to the CBAN certificate. And this financial obligation, as a mirror of the EU ETS system, are going to increase progressively. This is, I think, a simple graphic to show what happened during the transitional period. The EU importer import goods from installation in third countries and request data on embedded emission. Then in the custom declaration, the custom authority have to inform the importer about their CBAN obligation. And this quarterly report are going to be submitted to the CBAN transitional registry. And then there is going to be an exchange of information between the competent authority of any member state and the European Commission. And if the information is not completed, or if the quarterly report has not been submitted, some penalty may arise imposed by the national competent authority, both in the transitional period and in the definitive period. Regarding information that the European importer is going to ask to the operator in a third country, we are talking about embedded emission. And embedded emission are direct emission from my production process, and also indirect emission from the production of electricity that I consumed during my production process. And here are several methodologies allowed to calculate the embedded emission. During a first period that ends in July of this year, in July 2024, we may calculate this embedded emission on the basis of default emission factor values that have been published at the end of GR 2023, some months ago, by the European Commission. So on the right side of the screen, you have a very simple example for the production of cement clinker, and you have the estimated ton of CO2 per ton of cement clinker manufacture. Then we have a second methodology, more complex, a calculation-based methodology, in which you have to identify the quantity of all energy used during the production process, and also the relevant material consumed, the raw material consumed, and their corresponding calculation emission factor. You have a third one that to calculate, to determine emission, you measure by means of a continuous measurement of the concentration of the relevant greenhouse gas emission from any emission sources. You can get the embedded emission of your production process. And last but not least, other calculation method for embedded emission are allowed in third countries if, for example, there is already a CO2 regulation existing in this third country. And this method may be considered valid if they lead to similar coverage and accuracy of emission data. This method may be used until the end of December of 2024. This is just one example of calculation of direct emission. For sure, there is a complex calculation formulation, but just to let you know, we have here clinker production, and in the first graphic you have clinker production. In this case, direct emission may come from the use of different fossil fuel, or from different raw material or relevant material used during clinker production. And then you have cement Portland that need clinker to manufacture to produce the final product, and you're going to have another direct emission, for example, coming from drying this material to produce the final product. And concerning to this continued line that you see, this is referred to several. It's maybe the case that a facility, an industrial facility, capture this emission of CO2 in another process to avoid generating this CO2 emission, and in this count, this emission may be discounted. The CBAM report that the European importer has to submit on a quarterly basis during the transitional period, and then on a yearly basis during the definitive period, include GHG emission. What kind of emission? It depends. If we are talking about cement, fertilizer, or hydrogen, greenhouse gases covered are only CO2. If we are dealing with fertilizer production or aluminum production, we have other greenhouse cover that we have to calculate their emission, like nitrous oxide or perfluorocarbons. During the transitional period, direct and indirect emission have to be calculated, and during the definitive period, by the moment, direct and indirect emission have to be calculated for cement and fertilizers activity sector, and only direct from iron and steel, aluminum and hydrogen sector, but this is subject to review. So let's see in the future. Determination of direct embedded emission, I mentioned before the methodology, the system methodology. And then we have for indirect embedded emission, that means electricity consumption. We are going to have a default emission factor calculated for any country based on an average of emission factor for the mix of electricity production in any country. Beside this, or in addition to this information on GSG, we have to report also about the methodology that we have used, the data of the installation that produce the CBAM good, also emission factor applied or default value, sector-specific information, and other data. I try to go faster. The definitive period from 1st January 2026 onward, we're going to have the same reporting obligation, but also we have to specify the total number of CBAM certificate that I have to buy when importing CBAM good from third country. We have also to inform about the carbon price due in this third country of CBAM good origin, if this is the case, if there is already a carbon tax in force. And also I have to verify my emissions report, embedded emission report by an external accredited entity. One CBAM certificate, it's equal to 1 ton of CO2 of embedded emission in a certain category of products, CBAM products. So I'm ending with this part of the presentation. What are the main challenges that we identified for European importer and for non-European operator? For European importer in this phase, in this first step of CBAM regulation, they face difficulty in obtaining complete information on embedded emission. Also, they're going to support additional costs from CBAM certificate. Bureaucracy behind this complex regulation regarding completing and submitting on time duly documentation and data, and potential penalties. And at the end, also a main challenge, the additional cost of their CBAM product in the European market. For non-EU operator, as they are going to be asked by European importer, they have to the challenge of developing a monitoring reporting methodology that enable them to ensure the traceability of CBAM embedded emission of their product. They have also to trace their supply chain, providing them raw material or certain category of good. Then digitalize all the information system embedded in their daily operative. And they also face trade risk and opportunities if their products are more or less carbon intensive than the sector in which they manufacture. Also, the importance of developing, of implementing green technology and low carbon production process to reduce CO2 equivalent emission, and obtaining getting the needed financial support to implement all this initiative of all this method. I'm going to pass to a third section, the third point of the agenda. As part of this project, we have consulted experts. We want to know their opinion about CBAM regulation, about the challenge, about how they they expect this regulation be developed in the future. We have interviewed 27 experts from different countries: Spain, Slovenia, Italy, Turkey. Sorry. They are experts coming or represented business consortium, member of academia, expert in environmental regulation, sustainability issues, circular economy aspect, and green economy. That at the end, all these disciplines are focused in enabling the decarbonization transition, and enabling the needed tool to make it possible. So our survey has been focused on 5 topics that you see here. The regulatory situation in third country, non-EU countries, impact, how they say impact in different industry sector, and how good or how well or not is carbon footprint calculation is implemented in the operation of facilities, of industrial facilities. The role of the importer, the European importer, and the global industry challenges with this new tool. What do experts say concerning regulatory situation in third countries? They saw big difference between third countries in which there are other carbon control mechanisms or regulation or in some ways taxes versus countries where those regulation, those mechanisms do not exist. Sorry. In this topic, for this topic, these are the priority action identified: technical assistance and training for third country operator, but also for cluster and association, and needed collaboration between countries and company. We say country, but we are talking about regional, national administration, all sustainability or bodies with responsibilities in these issues. Main challenge. First of all, the complexity of this import procedure. Also, the lack of qualified personnel in Chamber of Commerce or business consulting firm, and a small and medium enterprise has to handle these issues, and there are not yet practical guidance on legal procedure, on legal requirement, different period, deadline, and so on. Very, very important access to financial support to put in place to implement all this to success this challenge. And also the scarcity or the rarity in third countries of enough accredited verification bodies that are going to be very active in the second, mostly in the second period, in the definitive period of CBAM regulation. Concerning impact in different industrial sector, experts saw significant challenge mostly for energy-intensive industries, with more difficult to decarbonize their production process, like cement, iron and steel manufacturing, fertilizer, versus those that only have to a small energy consumer that only need to change energy or replace fossil energy utilities by cleaner one. Also, the impact of the increase of production costs for non-EU supplier, and also the final price of the product in the European market. The active inward processing regime in the Customs Union Code is a quite complex issue. So just to mention that this regime, if a national custom authority authorize, the European importer may be exempt of paying this CO2 tax if it's going to re-export their good in a short period of time, or also there are other circumstances in which this temporary exception could be applied. Finally, concern arise regarding the availability of other secure and cost-efficient low-carbon energy sources like electricity. There is an increase in demand in industrial environment to electrify their production. Maybe there is not enough electricity production for all. Ending carbon footprint methodology and calculation is not always a standardized practice for foreign operator of their country. Digitalization tools are seen as a very useful mechanism to help with the process of monitoring and traceability, and to ensure traceability of embedded emission. We know that calculation of the carbon footprint is more common practice in products like automotive, the automotive sector, or production or greener goods. The role of the importer, identified by experts, said that a strong collaboration is needed between European importer and third country exporter that should arrive in a natural way around CBAM regulation. How? Implementing cleaner production measures to achieve net zero carbon emission, providing expert assistance advice to third countries supplier in conducting carbon footprint calculation, or helping to implement technology enhancement in production process. The EU importer may also introduce certain contractual clauses in their sales agreement to require the provision of information under the CBAM regulation. And to end with this point 3 of our webinar, global industry challenge. I think that some of them have been already mentioned. For non-EU operator from third countries, lead this transition, decarbonization transition, lead this green industry and gain a competitive edge. The adoption of digital tools to improve the production process, but also for the carbon footprint traceability. The restructuration of their supply chain to mitigate the commercial risk, and this is also another challenge for EU importer. And another challenge identified is the potential reindustrialization of the European market. It, for me, as European importer, is the same to produce abroad in terms of CO2 costs, or producing in the local European market. And the standardization of carbon footprint calculation and verification for European importers, mainly this competitive disadvantage with the expected increase of their CBAM goods. And that's all. Full information, as you see, about these interviews will be soon available in this website. And now I give the floor to Florencia Gomez. Thank you for your attention.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Hello to everybody. Thank you for staying tuned to this webinar. Now that my colleagues have introduced you about CBAM, about the concerns of some experts that we have interviewed, we believe that it's important to show you, or to make a general overview of some best practices in green and digital transition, and some funding opportunities that could be very useful to help to support SMEs through this transition. First of all, you might think, why? Why in digital transition and green transition? Why we look best practices on these areas? Because SMEs have to face all the impacts that a new regulation on their activity may arise. Therefore, since SMEs are vulnerable to these type of changes, all the tools that can get from the digital transition will allow SMEs to face the impact and to go through it. Then we think, why knowledge? Why best practices? Because from other industries, other areas, and other people experience, we can learn lots. We can create new paths. We can modify our methodologies. We can improve the way of work. That's why our goal is to create some guidelines that Barbara says that at the end of the project will be available for all the SMEs to go through to understand why different or why some particular best practices will be useful for you to go through this transition, this CBAM transition, and to learn how to go through to another one, because we already know that the Green Deal and the European Union is changing the way of working. And perhaps this time is CBAM, but next will be another regulation. And knowledge will give us tools to learn and to go through all these changes. The first thing that the first best practice research that we have made, this initial identification involves, we wanted to show you segmented, because we understand that it's easier to see, to select the best practice. Then we decided to segment our findings in 3 different categories. The first one is easier to understand, is the territorial scope. If this practice belongs or comes from a national or a regional authority, or if it belongs to the European or is applied to a global level. Then the type of best practices. We identify best practices that could be in the group of policy that will be useful for policymakers, the financing, the funding opportunities, knowledge, and networking. And then we have the best practices segmented by the provider. It's an association, it's a foundation, it's a government agency, it's an international agency, it's a private entity. I want to clarify some points in this segmentation. This is not intended to be exhaustive, because we identify 60 best practices. And these categories are not legal concepts, or it's only it's methodological. It's for us to understand and to present information to you. Going deeper into the numbers. When we analyze the best identified practices, we can have, from the territorial scope, we are like even between the European representation and the national or regional representation. But when we go to the type, we can see that the knowledge type of best practices are the ones that are the most. That's because, as I said before, knowledge is really useful for SMEs to go through these type of changes. Knowledge on how a particular industry went through their digital transition in a successful way would give us a lot of tools and a lot of information for us to adapt that methodology, that new technology, in our own path. And when we go to the provider or to the responsible entity, the ones who highlight the most are the government agencies. In this group, we can mention the small agencies in a really small region in Europe, or also the European Union, or a global, like the UN or the OCDE, for example. Analyzing the funding opportunities that we have identified, we have also made a really brief segmentation to understand the high volume information that is available for the SMEs and for the intermediate associations. We have found, again, the territorial scope. These funding opportunities are for regional, are for SMEs in some country, are for all the European SMEs. This funding opportunity is a grant, is a loan, gives services, is an investment, is another type of opportunity of the funding opportunity, sorry, and the sector is sector specific. I belong to a specific industry. Can I access to that funding opportunity, or is cross-sectoral? With this segmentation on mind, I can show you again in the territorial scope where, like, even between the European opportunities and the regional national opportunities, when we go to the type, we can see that the grant type of funding opportunities is the one is the most, but services are also in the are also important. And the sector of applicability, sorry, you can find that the cross-sectoral that are always in the hand of digital transition are the ones that we find the most. In the next few slides, we wanted to show you some examples. We are not going to go deeper on this, but we wanted to show why maybe knowledge and networking is important. For example, if we see at national or regional level, we can find workshops on digitalization, education and climate change. The Spanish guide for the use of the Kyoto Protocol is really useful because compile all the regulations that is relevant for SMEs. The Italian Business Committee toward Net Zero is a really relevant study that can increase knowledge. It's really useful. At a European and global level, we can mention lots of initiative, frameworks, master plan, toolkits that are regarding the European cohesion policy, the Green Deal industrial plan, the policy learning platform. There are lots of opportunities for the SMEs at the European and global level. What is important regarding, or what are our conclusions regarding best practices? When we talk about best practices, and again, sorry that I repeat myself a lot with the knowledge, the importance of knowledge. We can access to workshops, training, coaching, networking. It's really important for small SMEs to access to another SMEs that have a successful path, a roadmap to access to the green and digital transition. These spaces, workshops, are also an opportunity for small SMEs to access, for example, to tech transfer. Something that is important is that small SMEs are going to need technology, and networks with other countries, with other areas, will give the opportunity to access to technology that perhaps you don't have in your own ecosystems. Then the guidelines. It's important to access to reliable and accurate source of guidelines, that you know that the information is huge on the internet. But if you know that the guidelines that you are using is from a reliable and accurate source, that is really important. And then that's the role of the official deliverables. There are key documents for knowledge transfer, raising awareness of actions. It's really important to access to this type of information. When it comes to funding opportunities, our conclusions are that you can find funding opportunities that can support directly to the SMEs in their green and digital transition, but you can also have opportunities to access to technology or developments that the European Union itself is founding. For example, the Horizon of Europe. There are funding of projects that develop tools and technologies that will allow the SMEs to reach that digital transition. The tech transfer is really important. Being in a global initiatives, having the opportunity to access to new technology will help SMEs, and to know, for example, new methodologies, way of working. That's why it's important that when we talk about funding opportunities, it's not only about the traditional source of funding, grants, investment. It's also about having the opportunity to access to services such as training, coaching. For example, probably small SMEs will not be able to pay for a good consultancy, but there are a lot of funding opportunities that will give vouchers to small SMEs to access to some services that in a way they could do it. Another important thing is to understand that best practices can be, or you can find best practices that for more times. The date of the updated of the best practices perhaps is not the most important, but when we are talking about funding opportunities, SMEs have to be able to access to updated information continuously, because perhaps one funding opportunity is open this month, but in the next month you won't be able to access to it. There are opportunities that are recurrent that you will find all the year long, for example, but there are another ones that there are only one opportunity. There is a window during the year, and then you have to wait to the next call. And another thing that I wanted to point out about the funding opportunity is that in our recent mappings, we have identified some opportunities that give the opportunity to SMEs to participate in bigger projects as demo sites, for example, or be tester of new technology. And that could be a great opportunity for small SMEs to access to new technology, for example. This is our last conclusions. Let me try to be really to summarize some of the highlights. There is a huge number of information, of best practices, of funding opportunity. It's important that SMEs can have an access to that information in the continually updated and target detailed. That's why it's important that projects like Seabridge can provide guidelines to help you go through all this volume of information. And the other thing that we have to take into account is that the European Commission understands that to make possible a greener Europe, we need digital technology and infrastructure. That's why there is a lot of investment on innovation, on technology transfer. And the other thing is that also the regional and the national governments are aligned with this the European pathway towards the greener Europe, the digital Europe, and to support SMEs in this path. I think that's for me. Thank you very, very much. Stay tuned, and I hope that you can join our future activities.
Evet, tamam. Okay. Evet. Thank you, Florencia. I would like to thank all the presenter on behalf of the IMIP. I'm Fatma Ünal and working as project expert in the EU projects department. To summarize, presenters from the Seabridge team have been covered topics in the field of the CBAM regulation, and they shared experts' opinions and best practices in green and digital transition. and some funding opportunities for the organizations that want to enhance their capacity in the field of civil transition as well. I would like to mention that what is the next activities in this year or in the scope of the Seabridge project. And today's event is the first event actually of the Seabridge project, and the second international webinar is scheduled for June. The exact date will be confirmed in the upcoming weeks. We have 3 activities in May, and the closest activity is the first of the peer learning workshop. In the workshop, representatives from intermediary organizations from Turkey, Ireland, and Slovenia will share insights into the best practices in green and digital transitions within their respective organizations. Additionally, we have 3 national webinars to take place in Turkey, Spain, and Slovenia in an online format using the native language. The content of the national webinars will be clarified according to the conducted need assessment surveys and advisory sessions that will be held end of the informative webinars. And our main further activity is actually to provide financial support to our main target groups, particularly social economy SMEs. We will be announcing the open time frame and providing more details about the eligibility rules and in coming months. And the open call will be launched in the summer period. When it comes to the training sessions in October and November, these are for SMEs and intermediaries, managers and employees, and will focus on the skill management to align with the SBAM requirements. And I would like to emphasize that actually a digital guideline is in the development within the project and is expected to be ready by July. This guideline will consist of the definition and objectives of CBAM and the affected sectors, reporting procedures, expert interviews, best practices in green and digital transitions, and national, regional, and international funding opportunities. You will be able to access the developed guideline on our website and LinkedIn profile. Therefore, I highly recommend you following us on these channels. Seabridge has a website and a LinkedIn profile for social media engagement. All activities and call details will be launched on these platforms. Additionally, an e-newsletter will be released every 6 months. Our first newsletter is ready. If you are interested, you can check it from our related channels in the same way. Now, I briefly explain how you can participate in the advisory sessions. Please click on the 3 dots at the bottom of your screen and select Join a Breakout Room. You will see 3 rooms available for joining. If you have questions regarding SBAM regulations, green and digital technologies, or access to finance, please join the relevant room. Experts in these areas in here will address your questions in the chat box as well as. Thank you for your time, and I wish you have a pleasant day. Thank you.
So thank you very much for your participation. For the explaining of the SBEM project, as CBIRS project, and the details information about SBEM, we are done so far, but in the rest, we will proceed with the advisory sessions. So as my colleague explained, please click on the 3 dots at the bottom of the page, and then you will see the breakout rooms. And when you click on that, you will see a screen. And then you will proceed with the breakout rooms.